Carolina basketball family is the strongest there's ever been, there ever will be.
Nate Humphrey hands King Rice the ball. Pushes into Hubert Davis. 8 seconds. Davis trying to get free. Over to Fox. Fox, baseline. Up for the shot. Good! Off the glass! Oklahoma calls timeout. But the game is over. The game is over. Carolina has upset number 1 Oklahoma. Been ready on his second attempt. That one is no good. They battle for it. Loose ball. Recovered by Vinny.
With 20 seconds left to play, goes back to Michael Jordan. Jumper from out on the left. Good! 63, 62, 13, 12, 11. Georgetown with one timeout. Brent Brown looking. Throw away to Worthy. 35. The Tar Heels are going to win the national championship. Carolina with foul. He takes the timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
Brown gets it into Williams. Here comes Williams front court. Williams on the drive. Gets it back out the head. Long outside shot. Short rebound. It's over. And how about the Tar Heels? They are the national champions. The Tar Heels are the national dadgum champions.
And that's what it takes when you big time games. You got to compete. You do it with your brain, and you got to do it with your heart too. And that's pretty doggone good.
From QCBroadcasting.com, this is the Roy's Boys Podcast with your host, Josh Marlowe. Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Roy's Boys Podcast. We are powered by Carolina Electrical Services, and today we have a special guest as former Tar Heel and national champion Marcus Ginyard joins us. Marcus, how's it going today, man?
Hey Josh, how you doing? Everything's going all right. Well, given the craziness in the world right now, but I'm doing well, thanks.
I appreciate you taking some time to come on and talk to us. And that's one of the first things I wanted to get to in my time with you was we know COVID-19, the coronavirus, has affected so many lives, whether it's athletes, small business owners, what have you. And I was just interested to know, what has it done in your life, and what are you doing to stay sharp as a basketball player?
Well, for me, as you can imagine, our league here in France has been suspended. Luckily, we haven't been canceled yet, like most other European championships. But for the moment, we've been suspended. Life here in France has been completely shut down outside of grocery stores and pharmacies and doctors' offices. So I think that's also something a little bit different than kind of what we see going on in general in the U.S. I know that, some certain places have done things differently, but I have pretty much been in my house for the last 30 days. And just as of yesterday, the French president has declared another 30 days of lockdown. So for me, my life has gone from being very outgoing and very busy and traveling for games and things like that to being in the house all the time. So just trying to take advantage of the space that I have in my apartment and, getting a lot of home workouts in, getting a lot of rest in, obviously. And, just trying to touch up on some other things in my life, reading some stuff, trying to learn some things. But, generally, I feel like everybody's kind of dealing with some of the same stuff, just life being completely 180 degrees from what it was a month ago.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I myself have been home from work for now going on the third full week home, and it's really been an adjustment. So let's get back into your career as a Tar Heel. And coming out of high school, you were a highly recruited player coming out of the state of Virginia. What drew you to play for Roy Williams and for Carolina?
Well, coming out of the Northern Virginia area, this DMV area, D.C., Maryland, Virginia is very well known for the talent that comes out of there, and I feel very proud to have come from this area of talent in the U.S. And obviously, there are a lot of great schools, even just around me, Maryland and Georgetown, to name a couple. But for me, it was really important to kind of get outside of that home bubble, not to go too far, but to stay, with a little bit of distance between me and home, to get away, experience something new. And North Carolina was a great place that was far enough away to not be at home, but not too far away that it wasn't acceptable. And then, of course, it was just easy to make that decision once Coach Williams decided to move you have a great school, both academically and athletically, just far enough away to feel like you're getting away, but close enough to still be able to see your family. And then you got, what would become a Hall of Fame coach going there as well. It just all added up pretty easily for me. So once I had the interest from them, it was just a match made in heaven.
During your freshman season, you played a big role in an upset win at Duke on J.J. Redick's senior night in a game that really put Tyler Hansborough on the map nationally. And it was a big-time win for you guys. I'm just curious to know, what was that atmosphere like in Cameron, and what was such an emotional game for the Blue Devils?
That'll go down as one of the most memorable games that I've ever played in throughout my whole entire lifetime as a basketball player. And it was just a perfect ending, for that regular season for us. There have been so many things that we had experienced up to that point, especially just having such a large group of freshmen that were contributing to that team, and so much unknown coming back from, the previous team winning the national championship and everybody leaving, or so many of them leaving, not everybody leaving, but so many of the team leaving. And, it just really kind of capped off a season for us, especially, speaking to us, my group as a freshman. Everybody doubted us, didn't know that, we could do what we did that season. And, just as a team, being able to perform at that level and then finally kind of cap off the season with that type of win, it was just a huge moment for us to kind of validate, that we were young, that we were inexperienced, but that we had talent and that there was a lot of potential out there for us.
You became known as a defensive stopper during your time at Carolina. Was that something that you took pride in being? And was it something that Roy Williams challenged you to be when you came a part of that program in 2006?
Defense had always been something that was important to me. I had the pleasure to play for the son of late Morgan Wooten. And, Coach Wooten, Joe Wooten, he didn't allow us to step on the court unless we were going to play defense. So that was something that was already kind of in my mind before I got to Carolina. And, Coach Williams just challenged everybody to be the best version of themselves. And that was something that was always a strength of mine. And so that was just something that continued to be developed in my time at Carolina. And, as I saw myself fitting into some of the teams that I played for there at Carolina, it just seemed like a very easy fit for me to be more focused on that type of role on those teams. And so, just trying to become the best player I could and just trying to contribute any way that I could, and saw that as a very easy and smooth way for me to continue to see time on the court and continue to help my team win games.
You suffered a foot injury during the 2009 national championship season, in which led Bobby Frazier to call you the number one cheerleader. What was it like having a front row seat to that team that was dominant from word go?
I think it was. Everybody remembers what that was like to watch that team, and to really see that team dominate all of our opponents the entire year. And so, I had the best seat in the house. But, it was still quite a joy for me to be a part of that team. Now, I wasn't there to play on game day, but that didn't take me away from the dormitory. That didn't take me away from the cafeteria hall. That didn't take me away from practice or from scouting reports or videos or traveling. So, it was very difficult to not be on the court on game day, but I was just as much part of that team as anybody else, especially being a captain of that team, even though I was not on the floor for game day. So it was just a joy to be a part of the team, to be able to continue to contribute to things that nobody ever saw, but to still, be a part of that team and watch that team just destroy everybody in our way.
You were a big part of the 2009-2010 team that didn't have the same type of success following a championship like your freshman team did. And the season seemed to really fall apart during the ACC part of the year. What went wrong during ACC play?
Everything, we suffered some injuries at the beginning of the ACC season. I know, for example, me, I had a really bad ankle sprain. If I'm mistaken, the very first game of that ACC season against Virginia Tech, potentially. Not 100% sure. You can check me on that. But early in the ACC season, I know me personally, I had a tough injury. We had some other guys that weren't playing at 100%. And, again, we had a young team. We had a couple older guys that were there to try to pull everybody together. And personally, I take a lot of that blame as not really being the leader that was necessary, for that season. I think I fell short in a lot of ways of really trying to keep everybody together and on the right path and doing all the right things that we need to do to be successful. You'll see, even with this year's team, you have a team full of potential and full of talent. Everybody knows the ACC is tough, and that's not going to get it done. There's got to be a whole nother level of discipline and work ethic and mental toughness that comes into play when you're trying to get through the ACC. And, just as a team, we didn't have that. And, it was tough. It was definitely tough for us.
As I was interested in asking you, did you learn anything about yourself individually during that season? Because it normally feels like you learn more when the going gets tough as opposed when you're on the mountaintop.
Absolutely. And like I said, I just felt like there were some holes in my leadership, and I was obviously, the oldest guy with the most experience. But I still wasn't able to translate that to being a guy that, I was a guy that everybody respected. I was a guy that everybody looked to, but at the same time, I still don't feel like I was able to really do my job to keep everybody on the same page, keep everybody focused, And again, that's one of the things that I've continued to take a little tough about that season, feeling like I had a little bit more responsibility than anybody being the senior, being a captain. But, that's just part of the game. That's part of life. And, again, I took a lot of lesson that year in terms of how to lead other people on a team, whether you're in the captain position or not, but just how to do those things for your team, continue to work together and get better every day.
After Carolina, you've made a living playing basketball overseas. Have you discovered anything about yourself you didn't know being exposed to different cultures?
Absolutely. I didn't realize that I enjoyed living outside the U.S. so much. I didn't. There's so many things. We could talk for hours about all the things I've learned about myself since being over here. This is marking my 10th season now, playing in Europe. But man, I learned a lot about my spirit, about my ability to adapt, my ability to accept new and changing things, things that happen faster than I could ever imagine. I've experienced a lot of crazy things here in Europe, and I've just continued to walk this path as a professional player here in Europe, and just as a person, as a person here in Europe. And I think one of the biggest things is just my ability to adapt and to find myself doing okay in a lot of different situations. I've lived in we started in Germany and went all the way through to places like Ukraine, Romania, Poland, Greece, here in France, obviously this year. So I've had a lot of different experiences all over the world, and I've still been able to survive and to thrive really in all those different environments. And I think that's something that's been pretty interesting to learn about myself.
We've seen the NBA in recent years make some changes to kind of model the European game. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. What kind of changes are you talking about?
Well, we've seen the 24-second shot clock, and then on the opposite rebound, it resets to 14. That's something they got. I think it's from the Olympic model.
Right.
Wanting to widen the lane, stuff like that. It just seems like the NBA, and maybe it's because the foreign influence has come over into the NBA league. It just seems like the NBA has been more geared to following some different overseas models. I'm just interested in why do you think the overseas version of basketball was maybe more appealing to the eye?
That's an interesting question. And I think that if I'm not mistaken, I think that question changed a little bit when you kind of gave some more details there. The NBA, I think, is making those changes because, like you